My name is Zlatka Stankova. I'm a theatre director, a scriptwriter and an academic. My research area is on the controversial topic of irony in drama, and I try to explore all the dimensions of irony in one drama piece. The irony is double talking, the irony is a rhetorical figure, the irony which is connected with the fact that the audience knows more than the characters on the stage or on the screen, and the irony as incorporated as mechanism in reversals and peripetia, which is essential part of all good dramatic performance. The irony is generally a consciousness in one drama. It's either the consciousness of the author, the dramatist, or the consciousness of the director. It basically has to manipulate human emotions, the human emotions on the stage, while the character develops, or the human emotions, the way the audience perceives them. And not only this, the emotions have to be produced by interacting, which means that one of the main tasks of the directors and the dramatists is to incorporate such mechanisms in the development of the stage happening or in the film that they can induce and produce audience response, an adequate one. My talk was based on the comparison between the three basic models in ancient Greek tragedy, Shakespearean tragedy, and short exploration of Chekhov's drama, and also exploration of the different types of drama irony, and trying to explain how this mechanism works internally on the stage in reversals and peripetia, and how the character is proven to be good or false at the end only through the dramatic actions, while we had false anticipation in the beginning. And on the other hand, the irony which is connected with the perception, the audience which knows more than the characters on the stage, and how these three models, the ancient Greek model, the Shakespearean model, and the model in contemporary drama, in fact have different purposes. Where in ancient Greece we have the case in which the main tragic character has to be proven as guilty despite his high noble status, whereas in Shakespearean drama the guiltiness of the characters, Hamlet, Macbeth, Othello, they have to be justified as innocent despite their crimes on the stage, and this can be done by the directors only by the producing emotions, certain emotions in the audience in order to achieve their results.
With this idea that everything has a cause, I mean, we assume this in most theatrical and film experiences, that if we're being shown this, we're being shown it because there is a reason, because it's going to link up with something else we're going to be shown if we don't understand it right now. I mean, a lot of dramas which are not presented linearly play with this idea that everything you see is going to come together. If you just work hard enough at it, you'll work out what the unity is that links all these things together. Whereas the problem, I think, in a game environment or just in an interactive environment is that you cannot guarantee that in the same way. Things could happen which just happen because they happened, not because it's like we assume if there's a gun in a film, someone's going to have used it by the end, as someone said this morning. But that need not be true in an interactive environment, because somebody could decide not to use the gun. Yeah?
Agatha Christie is a nice example of how that's used. So Agatha Christie gives you loads and loads of things, makes you think they're significant, and then they turn out not to be.
Red herrings, yes.
Exactly, yeah.
Red herrings.
Yes, except in Agatha Christie, it's like you're building up a knowledge and pattern of what she presents. So in this particular story, it may not have been used, because I think that the stuff is there for a reason, and it gives you an affordance and an understanding, and it builds your knowledge of perhaps that author and their skill. So it may not have been used in that story, but I think if you look at it as a sort of cauldron of things, there is significance.
My perspective is mainly from the field of the classical and Renaissance and the modern drama, and I try to answer the questions which came from the auditorium, and the specialists mainly were in interactive drama.
When you're doing, say, interactive drama, supposing it's something whereby you, as the effective viewer, is going to participate inside as one of the characters, certain rules do change, and I think when you're using some of these techniques, you have to do them in different ways, although the technique still exists. So, for instance, irony quite often is using the fact in a traditional play that actually there's another level, there's a level that the audience is at. So, as you were saying, the audience is seeing certain things because they are the audience, and the author has effectively created an experience where the audience can see that, where the characters can't. So you have a separate existence to the characters in the play. Now, if you're inside the play, actually you can do the same thing, but you have to use different devices. Give an example. So, for instance, in improvisation, one of the ways that you bring in irony is through a technique called foreshadowing, which is actually used as a traditional dramatic device, but has to be used in a particular way. But what that means is that you will say or do something which doesn't have a meaning in that sense directly there, but will have a meaning later on. And now you have to learn, and if there are certain forms of improvisation where you have to sort of learn where you can do that, because that is introducing yourself as a participant, actually as somebody who is relevant because of something they're doing which is outside what you're doing. So you have to make it believable, but actually its role will come later when the audience watching that will say, oh yes, that's what that meant, wow. And so that's, I think, a different device, but using the same dramatic construction. And I think if you look at a lot of things, it makes it, you have to do it differently, and it's been done by different dramatists, even in classical drama in different ways. For instance, somebody like Brecht used a quite different conception, because he was specifically saying, you don't have empathy, you actually have to be separate from the characters there, even though, interestingly, a lot of his stuff was based on very careful empathy with characters, but he saw that idea of epic theatre as creating that separation. So different dramatists use different techniques to create this. So I think things like irony, I mean, I've said, I don't think it's easy, because when you look at it in detail, as you said, there's sort of very different ways and similarities between how Shakespeare used it and it was used in Greek tragedy. In Greek tragedy, of course, also relied on a certain cultural thing. As you said, people knew some of these myths, so they knew what it fitted into. So what I'm saying is there's different cultural factors, but there's also different factors when you're in interactive drama, which I think are different, but you can use some of the same techniques and devices, but you have to do them in different ways. And I think that is a challenge, because I think it is, and anyone who's done that's found that actually if you participate in some kinds of, say, multiplayer game and so on, what you can do is actually quite shallow. It's quite shallow because actually you haven't got the ways of creating some of these things that if somebody was a dramatist they would do, and how to include some of those more powerful features, I think is a challenge really for doing interactive drama.
Both type of staging and filming have certain rules which are already established, and many people, millions of people in fact, are trained in how to put on stage a piece of drama or how to shoot a film. And the most interesting task would be to try to implement this methodology into interactive drama development. And Jim, one of the members of the audience, raised the question about the complexity of the theatrical experience and how this complexity could be introduced into the interactive drama, which means all the 6 elements of one production: music, thought, plot, visual side, rhythm, how they can be involved in such an interplay so that ironic and dramatic tension could be produced for one individual user or for the group of users in the interactive drama. My next step in your research would be first of all, in connection with interactive drama, to explore some of the possibilities of narrative modeling into dramatic experience, because the dramatic experience is much more personal, and narrative structures which are in use in the interactive drama and mainly in the computer games or the interactive TV shows, they can provide certain models which can be combined with the psychological experience of the classical drama. And this is actually the area in which I'm very interested in. How can narratives which are already established produce new meanings by interacting with the personal, private, individual experience of the users.